Welcome to Know Your Neighbourhood with the Talking Place podcast. And today we're in
the City of London.
It is the oldest part of our city, so there's roots that go back for absolute years. It's a real city or neighbourhood of contrast and a space where old meets new, where creativity meets innovation. It's a space with lots of contrast, contradictions, but in the best possible way.
What does it feel like to belong in this neighbourhood?
A lot of people would say they don't necessarily belong to the City of London. There's still this perceived barrier, but actually it's massively been changing, I think, over the last few.
Is there a misconception about this place that you would like to address?
I think it's a perception that it's all white men in suits. And there is a lot. There's TikToks, Instagrams about exactly the same thing. A lot of people, particularly young people and people who, there's a barrier, whether it's class, whether it's economics, whatever it might be, preventing people from feeling like it's a space that they can be in. But it's a space for everyone. It's just finding the right entry point in.
Yeah.
And so you can find your place.
Hello. Welcome to Talking Place, the podcast bringing placemakers and storytellers together to talk about place. I'm your host, Tanisha Raffiuddin. I am the founder of Concept Culture, a creative agency in London, passionate about creating purposeful brands and telling powerful stories. London is a city of villages, from markets and high streets to parks, waterways, and public squares. Every neighborhood has its own rhythm, its own character, and its own story. But what makes people feel they belong in a place? As part of London Festival of Architecture 2026, we're exploring 5 very different London neighbourhoods through the lens of this year's festival theme of belonging. Meeting the people who know them best, we'll discover the spaces, communities, rituals, and everyday moments that make each one unique. I had the great honor of being on the curation panel of this year's festival, so this series is particularly special for me. All right, let's talk place. Eliza, welcome to the Talking Place podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And thank you for hosting us here at the London Centre in the heart of the City of London, one of the neighbourhoods of this year's Festival of Architecture. So tell us, how would you describe the City of London as a neighbourhood to someone who has never been here before?
I think it's a space where kind of history meets modern. I think it's got a historic nature that goes back 2,000 plus years. It's where the Romans set up camp years ago, but it's also where you have the most newest and innovative buildings that are going up. And actually not just buildings, a lot of amazing public realm placemaking work as well. So it's a real city or neighbourhood of contrast and a space where old meets new, where creativity meets innovation. It's a space with lots of contrast, contradictions, but in the best possible way.
Neighbourhood of contrast. I think that sums it up really well because, you know, whenever you're in the city, you're very much surrounded by these buildings which have such a dominating presence, the heritage buildings, and then you've got the skyscrapers as well. So it's this interesting juxtaposition of, as you say, old meets new. But tell us physically, where are we in London?
So we're in not quite the centre of London, but I think many people will think of it as the centre of London. We're just above the river, although actually the City of London does include some of the bridges as well, which cross the river. A lot of people don't know that bit. But we're just above the river. We're in what's called the Square Mile, so the traditional boundaries of the City of London, where the Romans set up their camps. So it's still those traditional boundaries that have existed forever, the ones that we can see sit on London Wall Place, and we see the Roman Amphitheatre and the Guildhall just across the courtyard from here. So we're in pretty much the centre of the City of London, just a big capital C.
City of London, yes, and it's also called the Square Mile, but it's technically not.
Oh no, it's not a square. It's a very strange.
It's not a square, and it's not a mile.
But it's very particular, the boundaries of it, because it follows these very traditional routes. So it's not quite a square.
Yeah,
but it still takes that name.
Yeah. So we were part of the LFA curation panel, and we sat together and we settled on this year's theme of belonging. So tell us, what does it feel like to belong in this neighborhood?
I think it means different things over time. I think obviously it's a space where the Romans belonged here. It was very different to belonging now. I think a lot of people would say it, perhaps they don't necessarily belong to the City of London. I think there's still this perceived barrier, but actually it's massively been changing, I think, over the last few years. A lot more people are coming in on weekends, for example, and the things other than work. Traditionally, I think a lot of people just came in and went out, whereas there's amazing places like Barbican and Art Gallery, loads of all these places that have incredible free programs that people can just inhabit, particularly younger people as well. I think it means different things to different people, depending whether they're coming for the day, they're coming as a tourist, perhaps to see these more traditional heritage points. So I think it really depends on the person.
What is it about the City of London that makes people feel connected to it?
I think in many ways it is the oldest part of our city. So there's those roots that go back for absolute years. I mean, for us, the London Centre is the home of the built environment community, so it's our living room in many ways. So it's a space where anyone who's interested in those kind of conversations can come and just be and hopefully feel like they belong within that industry, but also within the City of London. It hopefully reduces those barriers to feeling welcome in a space, and then as a consequence, the wider City of London as a whole as well, which is just on the doorstep outside.
So, City of London is part of the LFA neighbourhood. So what should people look out for when they come to visit during the festival?
There's so much. I think the city's got the biggest amount of events happening as
wow.
part of the festival,
Yeah.
Probably almost about 60 things. This is obviously going to be a hub of activity. So we've got the Murray Lecture starting on the 1st of June and then closing with our Young Voices lecture at the end, which is the first time we're doing that, really finishing the festival with a young voice kind of championing what belonging means to the city, but particularly for young people in our city. We've got the return of the Lego Challenge. So we're going to be filled with Lego in this space, which would be a fun way of thinking about how we build the city for young future city makers. But beyond this, we've got a lot of the guilds and livery halls who often has closed doors, opening up their doors to kind of welcome more people in. We've got workshops, we've got tours, we've got 2 installations that are just around the corner. So we run a couple of competitions to think about kind of greening and connecting some of the partners in our industry, the veggery over in the Barbican, and then one towards Golden Street, just thinking about a cafe and how do you spill out onto the street and really take over a space to create a new pocket park as well. So lots of different ways of thinking about what architecture means, what belonging means, and very different parts of the city being activated across the month.
That sounds so exciting. So apart from the program itself, what should people look out for? What would you recommend that they visit?
There's so much. I think the neighbourhood's a really good way of going to see somewhere that you haven't been before, but also if you have been there, seeing it with new eyes. So there's so many amazing organisers who put on activity which gets you to think about an area with a new lens, and it's something that you might think you know a place or you know a topic, but it really opens your eyes to new ways of thinking and hopefully challenges you a little bit. So the festival's very much around celebrating, but also it's about having those kind of perhaps some difficult conversations or learning opportunities that really shift the dial post-festival. So just encourage people to go to as many things as possible, but also try something perhaps you haven't been to before, or a type of activity that you haven't tried out. Obviously in the City of London, but then the city more widely as well. There's so much. So it can be quite overwhelming. There's about 400 events across the month, but there's different ways that you can narrow it down in the programme, whether you want to connect with nature, whether you want to participate and make something, whether you want to learn a new skill or just peek into a building. You can do all of those in City of London and then the wider programme as well.
Yeah, no, amazing. Looking forward to it. I almost feel like a sense of FOMO comes up because there's so many good things happening at the same time, and there's so much to choose for. But coming back to the City of London as a neighborhood, what would you say that makes people keep coming back to this place?
I think there's always something new. I mean, if you just think about this space here, we have these models behind us, which we update 2 to 3 times a year. So they're always showing past, present and future. So we have a couple of buildings on here which they're not yet here outside, but they're on our models, so you'll see them in a few years coming. But you've got amazing cultural institutions that exist within the City of London with new programming. There's constantly new space. There's amazing green space in the City of London people don't know about. So there's always new things to explore within a place that you think you know quite well. So I think people just like exploring, like walking down kind of windy avenues where you don't quite know where you're going to end up and see something new.
Yeah. And is there a particular story or fun fact that you think that people don't typically know of the City of London, but they should know?
I think probably most people know some of the biggest things like the Great Fire of London, but I don't think people realise how much of London it destroyed. So it was like 80% of the city was gone within quite an unfortunate series of events. So it was a really hot summer, it was really windy, and there was one baker who left his oven on. And then we had the Great Fire of London. Then we rebuilt, but then it was destroyed again with the Blitz. So the city's been through so many changes, which is why we get the city we have today, which I think there was planned for it to be grand boulevards and sort of all these plazas. But you end up with actually quite a historic city, which is not necessarily, I think some people know details of that, but I think people don't know the extent of resilience of the city.
Yeah.
But then also how many great projects are going on now. I think people think the city still is built. There's no real changes happening to it, other than perhaps the taller buildings. But there's amazing smaller projects. Particularly if you go to kind of the more Smithfield side, obviously you've got a lot of things happening where the meat market used to be and the transformation of the Museum of London. There's amazing projects which are going to change the game for kind of how people can see themselves within the City of London. Pedestrianised projects with people like LDA doing some incredible projects in John Street. So there's just off the border of the City of London, but there's loads of really unique projects that are testing how the city can be a better place.
Yeah, I'm particularly looking forward to the pedestrianization. I think we're at a tipping point where people are asking for more pedestrianization, more greenery in our spaces. Is there a misconception about this place that you would like to address?
I think that it's only for a few people. I think it's historically obviously got a big sense of it's for bankers, it's for people in finance. You have the Bank of England, you have a lot of the big banks, and actually you've got banks coming back to the City of London from Canary Wharf now. So I think it's a perception that it's all white men in suits. And there is a lot. There's TikToks, Instagrams about exactly the same thing. But also there is so much amazing community organisations that exist in the area, so many people who are doing brilliant projects in the more cultural spaces, and obviously the big cultural projects that exist as well. So I think there's often a barrier for a lot of people to feel like, is the City of London for me? It's just finding the right entry point and the right invitation in, which is what we're trying to do a bit here, is making kind of people feel more welcome in the City of London, make the City of London feel a bit smaller, and so you can find your place. I think a lot of people, particularly young people and people who just there's a barrier, whether it's class, whether it's economics, whatever it might be, preventing people from feeling like it's a space that they can be in. But it's a space for everyone. It's just finding the right entry point in.
Yeah. I recently recorded a podcast with Rasmus Astrup, who's the principal at SLA, and they're landscape architects, and they're doing a lot of work in the City of London. And he mentioned a particular anecdote that he saw one day during lunchtime on a city bench, someone working in high vis, who clearly worked on a construction site, and someone in an expensive suit sitting on the same bench and having lunch. And he was like, that's what City of London's all about. It's exactly what you said. It's a place for everyone, and maybe it may not appear so as you say, but when you come here, you definitely get a sense that there is something for everyone here.
I think when we have loads of schools in the proximity, but also a little bit further, they all come into this space, and it's just incredible to see so many young people just running in, trying to find themselves on the model, and just at the perfect height for the model as well. And it's like, this is their city, and they feel then a sense of ownership and a sense of belonging that is difficult to have otherwise.
Yeah. So you talked about a lot of things that are going to change and some exciting developments, but what do you hope doesn't get lost in all the development?
I think the idea of heritage is a really strong one, and I think there's lots of strong identity that the City of London has, which is so unique. So I think losing that would be a real tragedy. I think there's amazing kind of pocket green spaces in the city, which some are left over from kind of spaces that were bombed, and they've kind of created these new gardens, whether they're in ruins of churches or just different spaces that are really vital in climate crisis that we're having. You need those green spaces in a quite dense space. I think spaces like that, spaces like the Barbican, which are kind of become love it or hate it buildings, but often havens for people to feel they can exist in. So I think those smaller, more intimate spaces within the city.
Yeah. And if you had the power and the resource and the authority to change one thing about this neighborhood, what would it be?
I think if I think about my disability justice hat, is there's still not enough places that actually people can physically get in, and then once they're in, feel welcome in. So I think it's not a thing that's unique to the City of London. It's something that a lot of places across London, but the world, to be honest. But it's something, you've got so many historical buildings in the City of London, which does make it quite hard. I mean, St Paul's changed recently their entrance, so it's not impossible. But I think sometimes it can be particularly difficult in historic places like the City of London.
So Eliza, are you ready for Know Your Neighbourhood in 60 seconds?
I think so.
All right, let's do it. Best cup of coffee?
Oh, right next to here, St Espresso. A little bit further, Smithwood Way, Dose.
Best place to eat?
Koya.
Best place for a cocktail?
I say Koya as well.
Oh, okay.
I'm not really a cocktail, I'm more a red wine person.
Fair enough. Best thing to eat here for under a £5? I know, it's a City of London. I think that's a tough one.
Under a I get $5.99, I think. There's a curry just on cheap side.
Very good. Oh, in this economy? Wow. Best place to read a book?
All the pocket gardens around here. There's one just around the corner on Love Lane or Postman Park.
Excellent. Best place to just stop and people watch?
Barbican.
Yeah. Best view in the neighbourhood?
I mean, I want to say Barbican again. I mean, there's so many roof gardens, so it could be Horizon 22 maybe.
Yeah.
You can look down.
Yeah. Morning or evening, when does this place feel most itself?
I think morning you get the rush of the City of London. You get that feel of people coming in and out. The city, you feel a slightly different demographic, which is quite nice.
One word that describes this neighbourhood that no estate agent would use?
Creative.
Creative, yeah.
I think people more think of the heritage or the modern aspect, but actually creativity.
The person, living or dead, who shaped this place more than anyone?
Oh, probably the baker that set their oven on to make the Fire of London.
That's a curveball. I thought you might say Christopher Wren, but you know that's actually.
Well, Christopher Wren tried to rebuild the city, but actually his plan didn't come through because that's why we have the plan today. So he was meant to be, but he shaped, I think, Washington more so than here.
Oh, I did not know that. If this place had a soundtrack, what would it be?
I mean, probably something like Money, Money, Money. But
that's in my head now as well.
If we're talking about like the London Centre and home of the built environment community, it's got to be something like We Built This City.
We Built This City. Love it.
If we're thinking about London, something like Stormzy could take you back to London. Depends which vibe you're thinking.
Yeah. Finish this sentence. You don't really know this neighbourhood until you've seen...
I think all the alleyways and all the side streets that make it the space it is. I think you can get lost so easily. I think it's just wandering around each of these spaces, looking up and seeing all the small details that have been left here from years. I think you then understand the history that's gone back 2,000 years.
Well, that's amazing. Well, I think we know the City of London a little bit better. Thank you very much for taking part.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, on that note, I'd like to thank you for welcoming us to this neighbourhood and sharing what's special about this neighbourhood with us and our audience. And I wish the City of London and the NLA and LFA the very best this festival.
Thank you.
Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Feel free to join the conversation on social media with the hashtag #TalkingPlace. I would also love for you to leave our podcast a review and subscribe to all our podcasts and YouTube channels so you don't miss an episode. there's so much more to explore when it comes to creating good places, and I'm excited to do a deep dive into other topics with you in our next episode. I'm Tanisha Raffiuddin, and it's been my pleasure to be your podcast host. Thank you for listening. See you again next time, where we'll continue talking place. Talk soon.